Hi babes, how are you? My name is Moran. Welcome to my series, Getting Personal, where I gather different stories from Reddit. And today's topic is truth bombs. Like people serving that rough honesty left and right. So without further ado, let's dive in. I, 40 male, humiliated my 41 female wife in front of our friends because of spicy books. Did I go too far? I'm staying at a friend's house and am a little drunk, so please forgive me for any mistakes. I, 40 male, and my wife, 41 female, have been together for 18 years, married for 15, and as all couples, we've had our ups and downs over the years. On Saturday night, we had a sort of gathering of friends at our home for my birthday. Since we couldn't celebrate Friday due to it being Valentine's Day, I came upstairs as my wife and her friends were talking and drinking in the living room. My wife said something, then our friend Jessica said, "Yeah, he watches it a lot. I don't mind." My wife then said, "Oh no, I hate it. OP isn't allowed to watch porn. He knows better." Claire, another friend, said, "It's not my thing." And my wife continued, "No, it's disgusting, degrading. Hell, it's perverted, but OP is a pervert." She laughed loudly, then proceeded to tell them about some time when I approached her about getting a little more adventurous with toys. Honestly, I felt humiliated and probably could have handled things better, but I was really mad and marched upstairs and grabbed one of her dark romance books she loves to read and stormed back downstairs into the living room. I tossed the book down on the couch beside her and said, "I'm a pervert? At least the porn I watch doesn't involve kidnapping women and penetration with a gun." I didn't stay in the house much longer after that. My friend and I left shortly after. They think I could have waited until everyone left the house before I got into it with her, which is likely true, but she didn't hesitate before bringing up intimate matters between us to her friends. I don't know, part of me is feeling quite justified in what I did, but at the same time, I think my friends could be right. I'm not the kind of person to have an argument with someone in front of people, especially my wife. Did I maybe a little bit, but I fully understand it. It cannot feel great to come in and hear your wife calling you a pervert over like porn or some preferences in bed. Now, everybody has different views on porn. I personally am kind of fine with it. It's not great. Porn addiction is real. A lot of unethical stuff happening there, but that's a whole another conversation. The point is, she shouldn't have been like sitting there and calling you all of those names and like a pervert and stuff. That's just crazy to me. Why would you disrespect your husband and your partner like that? I find it kind of hilarious that you threw Hunting Adeline. People who genuinely enjoy dark romance like that have no business calling anyone a pervert, because first of all, let's not kink shame anyone. Second of all, come on girl, don't be hypocritical because like you think porn is bad but Hunting Adeline is not. Okay, that is a very interesting line to walk. I am personally on the side of like it's all fine and great until it doesn't hurt anyone and until you don't shame other people for their preferences, and that's what she was doing. Yeah, admittedly you did it in response. Obviously not great to do it in front of other people, but it is what it is right now. Small update, I feel sick. She sent pictures of me in compromising positions to people we know. Although I can admit I didn't agree with one of your advice encouraging me to talk and apologize to my wife, I appreciate you taking the time to read and comment on my post. But I don't think I'll be found talking to anyone again. I feel numb. There is no denying it's me in the photos. People keep calling me, so I'm going to turn my phone off. I don't know if I'll turn it back on. The did she send the pictures for? That is wild. Like, that's an escalation that was not just uncalled for, it's just very confusing and, unreasonable. The top comment here is, "My guy, what the did she send photos of you for? She's gone from humiliating you into criminal territory, and I feel terrible for you. Was this in retaliation just now, or has she been doing it in the past? What will you do? If you were my friend and your wife sent me photos, I'd shut them down quickly and tell her she was desperately out of order. Then I'd scrub the vision from my memory best I could. Your loyal friends will do the same, pal. Everyone has secrets. Everyone has secrets." Yeah, I just think she was outraged outraged that you outed her secrets, her little spicy tastes in front of her friends. I mean, maybe they knew, but yeah, it can be interesting for people to find out what books you're into, especially if you're ashamed of it. Because, I mean, I don't think you should be. Whatever gets you going, once again, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone and doesn't cross any obvious horrific lines. The OP commented a whole bunch, so if you're interested, head over there for more details. He goes on about their past and that he never discussed his wife with his buddies and stuff like that, but we are moving on to the next story. Am I the asshole for telling my friend her quirky behavior is just being rude? I, 25 female, have a friend, let's call her Sarah, 24 female, who's always been kind of unique. She's one of those people who prides herself on being quirky and different, and while I get that, sometimes it crosses a line into being rude or inconsiderate. She will often interrupt people mid-conversation to share her random thoughts, even if it's completely off topic. She's also really loud and makes awkward comments about personal things, like loudly asking a couple if they've ever considered an open relationship at a dinner party, or commenting on someone's weight without any filter. I've talked to her about it in a nice way before, saying that sometimes it feels like she's not really paying attention to the social dynamics or how others might feel, but she brushes it off with, "I'm just being myself, take it or leave it." This weekend we were at a gathering and she made a huge scene by loudly criticizing a mutual friend's new haircut. It was a bad cut, but she didn't need to say anything. I finally snapped and told her that she's not quirky, she's just being rude, and it's really starting to get on my nerves. She was really upset, said I was trying to suppress her personality and that I don't appreciate her for who she is. Now she's ignoring me and our friend group is divided. Am I the asshole for calling her out, or should I have just let her continue with her quirky behavior? Not the oh, that's not quirky. That's literally what you said. That's just being rude. It's the person being unfiltered, saying things that were not called for and could have been very easily kept to herself, and she does not want to change or improve because she can say that, yeah, you don't appreciate her personality. But I actually find people like this funny because what do you think is going to happen when everyone is tired of your bullshit? One day you're not gonna have anyone to criticize or pester with your weird comments because everybody's just gonna be done with you. Reddit, by the way, also said, not the asshole. The top comment here, this girl sounds like just another version of I'm brutally honest people, but she wraps it up in a manic pixie dream girl persona, and honestly, those are two of the worst types of personalities I can imagine. You're definitely not the at all for calling her out on her behavior, but she's clearly not planning to change. You can't let her continue with her quirky behavior because you're not in charge of her. What you can do is either stop hanging out with her or decide to continue calling her out when she's being an asshole, which she is. If you choose to keep seeing her though, I would recommend a change in approach. Don't wait until you're mad and then start yelling. Just kindly and gently point out when she's being rude. She interrupted someone? Interrupt her immediately and say, "Hey Sarah, I don't think that John was finished yet. John, you were saying something about," and redirect it back to him. She asks a couple if they want an open relationship? Say, "Oh, that was a strange thing to say. Anyway, John, you were saying." She just wants attention with this behavior, and if you take it away from her, she'll probably stop. To me though, it sounds like a lot of work to keep spending time with this asshole. I do agree with the commenter, and they're taking a high road, and yeah, I would just stop hanging out with her because that. But their suggested way of dealing with her is, you know, very healthy, mindful, very demure. But as a much darker, let's say, person, I had a different strategy in mind. Like, if you cannot stop hanging out with her, and if your like friend group is divided and you inevitably will see her, I would just flippity flop it back on her. I did that several times in my life. It works out in really funny ways. Those people get real mad when you suddenly start using their on them. Okay, that is not advice. Okay, I take it back. It's not advice. It's just me sometimes having an urge to be very toxic and with people who are with other people. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. Am I the for calling out my husband's exaggerations in front of others. To summarize, my husband has a tendency to exaggerate a lot. Whenever he does this in front of others, I end up correcting him in front of everyone. My husband seems to think that what I do is undermine him all the time by doing this. I keep telling him that he should work on himself first by improving this habit of constantly exaggerating and sometimes even compulsively lying in front of others. He tells me that perhaps I should refrain from correcting him all the time as well. However, he can't seem to stop his habit, and I can't stop myself from correcting him either. Comes to me involuntarily. Today he started a big fight with me over this issue. He keeps telling me that I keep on undermining him, but he seems not willing to make any moves to fix this trait of his either. Am I really the here? Should I perhaps try to control myself better and let him know my options while we are alone together and go along with whatever he's saying in public? Just to note, the things he makes up tales about are usually non-consequential stuff. Should I perhaps learn to let it go more? 2 examples from today that my husband is mad about. 1. To further justify why he disliked a client at work whom I also happen to dislike, he was saying stuff like this person, had gone and escalated one of my husband's colleagues to the other clients by saying unfavorable things about this man. As far as I knew, this did not happen. I work in the same office, and so I asked when did that happen, that I did not recall anything of this nature. 2. He was showing a cute picture of us to a friend who asked if we kissed after that picture. He said that we did, but he wouldn't show her the picture. I mentioned that we did not kiss after that picture and have no such photos. I mean, the first one is not even an example of you correcting him, because it's just he said something you weren't aware of and you asked for clarification. I don't feel like that's in any shape or form correcting. Like, you didn't say he's straight up lying. You were just like, wait, can you tell me the specific example when that happened? And the second one, yeah, just sounds like he loves to make up things as he goes to make them more enticing and dramatic and bigger and juicier, and I can see how that can get on anybody's nerves very easily. Not the asshole, obviously, but I just don't think people who have this trait and this habit can easily change, especially if they don't see a point and don't see a problem. The top comment here is not the asshole, casual lying so hard. This is exactly the that's ruining society. Utter disinterest in truth. I gotta say, I agree. Like, small lies, big lies, you know, it all merges together. It's all kind of snowballing. Can go from like small ones to really big ones, and then you start not trusting a person because if he can so easily lie about so many tiny things, then you start wondering, is he able to lie about something very big and just, you know, keep it going? That's a question. Am I the asshole for telling my wife that, frankly, a sex worker would be cheaper and less stressful than her at this point? My wife, Megan, and I are both 31. We have been together for 6 years. We got married 8 months ago. Since we got married, Megan has all but completely stopped contributing to our household in any meaningful way. She doesn't cook, and when she does, I think she intentionally sabotages the food so I won't ask her to do it again. She doesn't really clean either, as she believes that as a college-educated woman, being a stay-at-home wife is beneath her. I would generally be fine with this, but Megan doesn't work either. Again, she's highly educated, but her degree is in low demand. My uncle and I run a plumbing company together, and so while I only have a high school diploma, I make a very good money and have what I feel is a respectable job. I've long felt that Megan looks down on the work that I do, but that's kind of beside the point. If Megan pitched in and at least made an effort around the house, I would be fine with her not working, but the problem is she doesn't at all. Anytime I gently suggest she do something, she comes up with an excuse not to do it. I've had arguments with her about this because I would come home to a messy house and empty fridge only to find Megan sitting on the sofa on her phone. Personally speaking, our bedroom has all but given off its final death rattle as well, where intimacy is basically non-existent. This is partially due to Megan's insecurities about her physique, which, to be brutally honest, is about what you would expect of a person who sits around doing nothing nothing all day. 2 days ago, Megan pushed things a little too far. We were having an argument about her neglecting to do one single task, swapping my clothes from the washing machine to the dryer, and she shouted at me, "If you want a bangmate like your boomer uncle's wife, why don't you just divorce me already?" I didn't know what a bangmate was, and I assumed it was a sex worker. So I responded, "Honestly, at this point, a sex worker would be cheaper and less stressful than dealing with you." Megan absolutely lost it on me, and for the past 2 days, she has completely refused to even have a discussion. I have not apologized, but I wonder if I owe her one for my words. It is very mean, but I gotta say I can't blame you at this point, because situations like these always baffle me when people get married and then suddenly a person flips like in a blink of an eye. What do they expect is my question. Like, do you think that divorce doesn't exist, or do you think that you can just get away with it because you have that like paper and that ring? It's just insane to me, because why would you want to trap someone and make them miserable and also make yourself miserable? So weird, and I just don't understand her. I generally don't understand people who just do nothing and want to do nothing. Of course, sometimes it's the result of mental health issues, and that is a separate type of thing, right? But people who just like literally want to spend their life on the couch staring at TikTok, doing nothing, contributing nothing, even to themselves, just baffle me. So for me, it's really hard to even judge the OP for his words, like, once again, harsh. But is he wrong though? He probably married with very different expectations, and from what it sounds like, she was a completely different person before that, and she just turned on him. And I understand how hurtful it can be, because you believed for years that you're gonna get good relationship, and then you have to deal with this. And the top comment on the repost, at least, is, "I don't get why people get married to people they obviously can't stand." And I full-heartedly support that. I don't understand it as well. Just why? The next story we have is, am I the asshole for telling my friend she's the reason dating apps are a mess? For context, I'm already in a relationship. However, my friend, 29 female, is on every dating app. Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, even some niche ones. She's constantly swiping, matching, and going on dates, but she never actually likes anyone. She'll find the tiniest reason to lose interest. At first, I actually found it quite funny. Her stories were entertaining, and honestly, modern dating is actually kind of ridiculous. I feel like everyone in a relationship can relate to listening to a single friend dating stories with some popcorn. But over time, it started to bother me. I realized she treats dating like a game. She'll message guys for entertainment when she's bored, but has zero intention of meeting them. She even keeps a few guys in a rotation just for compliments. Meanwhile, she constantly complains that her standards aren't being met and stuff like that. Very cliche. As soon as I realized this, I was kind of amazed how I couldn't really see this from before. It wasn't as obvious as I thought it'd be. The breaking point, which is why I'm here, was when she meshed with a guy me and my boyfriend know personally. He is actually a great guy who's looking for something real, as he's over his ex and ready to move on to something real. She messaged him non-stop for a couple days. I was so happy for the both of them. Then she ghosted him completely because she wasn't feeling it. I called her out, saying straight, "You're literally the reason dating apps suck." I thought about it later. Maybe it was a very harsh line, but still. She got mega pissed. She defended herself by saying she's just having fun and that dating apps are meant to be casual. But it's so frustrating, because why the hell do you complain about no good men out there to me? A few friends I've spoken to about this say that line was just cold. They're also saying she doesn't owe anyone anything, which I get. Not all eggs in one basket, but some also agree with me. Anyway, to me, that's not casual, that's just stringing people along. Am I the asshole? I'm actually on a fence with this one because on one hand I do feel like she's messing around, but then also kind of wants to dramatically complain that there are no good men while she rejects a bunch of them and probably is, you know, not as serious about trying to date as she makes it seem. And on the other hand, she doesn't owe anyone anything, so if she met that guy that you both know, talk to him, and then decided that she's not feeling it, she has a right to. I mean, ghosting him was not great. Ghosting is never great. Ultimately, though, I would have to say I'm leaning towards not the because she does sound like a nightmare in a way that she will play with people's feelings and mislead them and then ghost them for fun. Now that is cold. Your line was cold, but that is also cold. And yeah, I mean, no strings attached, but it's also not really great to around with humans like this. Anyway, the next story I have for you is, am I the for refusing to help my sister with her children and telling her she chose her life, so now she has to deal with it? Hi Reddit, my whole family thinks I'm an asshole, but I disagree. Or maybe think it's justified. When my sister, 26 female, and I, 24 female, were kids, we hated each other. My sister was very hard to get along with, and she never had any friends as a result of this. She's the type of person who always thinks she's right and can never apologize or admit when she's wrong. As an adult, she still has no friends. She decided to drink the Treadwife Kool-Aid. She met her husband in college, got pregnant, and dropped out. They have 4 children under the age of 8 together, and the youngest is quadriplegic due to spinal damage and a birth defect. I just finished law school and am starting my career. My husband already has an established career and we're dinks. We don't intend on having any children. My sister has historically talked down to us at family events. She says we don't even understand what we're missing out on. We'll never know what true and unconditional love is, etc. Very condescending, as always. Lately, her and her husband have been fighting. Apparently, per my mother, he has never let her access his income. He gives her cash for groceries. The bills and stuff have always been in his name. Apparently, he's been cheating too. My sister has asked for me to watch her kids on the weekends so she can save up money to be able to evaluate her options, aka leave her husband. When she came to me and asked this, I asked her, but isn't being a traditional wife your calling? You've told us this several times. You must have forgotten, but traditional wives aren't supposed to work. I kinda laughed at how she explains that maybe being a tread wife isn't for her after all. Eventually, I just shut her down and told her that she picked this life, the life that she has always insisted is so superior to mine. Time to learn to deal with the problems that come with it. My parents can't watch her kids because dad is at work on an oil pipeline, and mom is too old to be working the hours she's already working. Our other relatives don't live close enough to do it. She also asked my parents to move in with them and my dad shut it down. He can't really stand her kids. Am I the I would go with no because, yeah, you kind of did a little bit of gloating, and is it cool? Nah. But is it cool to do it to the person who was condescending and difficult and rude her entire life to you? It's fine. Like, you hate her. It drips from the whole post that you hate her, and I always find people like this funny. They will be a literal nightmare, and then when they need something from you, they will crawl back and be all sweet and think they are entitled to your help because they are your, I don't know, relatives, siblings, whatever. It's crazy to me. Like, dude, you cannot just be a to me for years and then expect that I'm still gonna help you. You have to know this is not how life works. And I know, like, a lot of people are raised with the mindset that it's your family, so you have to help them no matter what. I was raised with a thing of, if your family are a bunch of you have every right to just decide not to deal with that. Great success. Also, I want to specifically talk about this line of, we'll never know what true and unconditional love is. If you need to make a whole person that is going to be dependent on you and will not have a choice to leave to understand love, then I do feel sorry for you. Yes, maybe the love for your child is not the same as the love for any other person. I get that. I completely get that. It's a different sort of bond and stuff like that. But oh boy, does it piss me off when parents specifically phrase this in a way that like we are all like emotionally poor and desolate because we will never know true love. No, honey, I don't need to have children to know what love is. Love just comes in a lot of different forms. It can come in the form of loving your family, loving your partner, loving your friends. It's all different and it's all beautiful. It can be strong, it can be insane, and please stop looking down on people who are not parents. Okay? It's just a matter of your emotional intelligence, and everyone feels different. There are parents who hate their kids. There are. Like, let's not pretend that everyone has a kid and loves them to the ends of the world. No. So let's not even. The top comment here, I had never heard the term dink until I started at my current job. Some guy was asking about my family and I explained my wife and I don't have kids, and he says, you guys are dinks. And just before I can be like, your mom's a dink, he says, double income, no kids. That could have ended up awkward. Yeah, that's a funny story, but I love that term. Anyway, let's move to the next and last story that I have for you today, which is, am I the for telling my husband I prefer uncircumcised men? He isn't. If he's told me he prefers tall women, I'm not. My husband and I were talking and the convo somehow got to circumcision. Don't even ask how. He mentioned that a lot of people choose to cut their sons for the benefit of their future female partners. Without thinking a lot, I said, that's insane to me because I've always preferred uncut men. Now my husband is cut, as are most American men. I am perfectly happy with what he's packing, but it's true that I have a preference for uncut men. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a preference, especially since my husband has his own. He's mentioned preferring tall women, and I have no problem with that at all, even though I'm 5'4" on a good day, because it's a preference, not a requirement. But he seems to think I was cruel for mentioning my preference to him because he can't change his. But I reminded him he told me he prefers tall women and I can't change my height, but he's convinced it's completely different. Am I the asshole? Logically, no. Logically, I can argue that yes, you were just talking about preferences and there was nothing technically wrong with what you said, because yes, he told you about his preference and you told him about your preference. But when it comes to men, I feel like the easiest way to avoid any types of problems is just never say anything that will get them sensitive about their. Either keep it to yourself, you don't like the just leave it, like, well, leave the dude it's attached to or deal with it. But as a rule of thumb, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, because they be very sensitive about it. And to be fair, it's not an exact comparison, you know, because they're both things you cannot change, like height and being cut or uncut, but one is about like just a general trait of appearance and the other one is about, you know, genitals. So everybody's kind of more sensitive about that. I think he's kinda overreacting because a person without insecurities should be able to take that comment without any problem. But once again, when it comes to men and their, the best way is to just not say anything. The top comment here, if there is one lesson I have tried to instill in my 3 great nephews, it's that you are not required to say everything you think. Yes, I realized this way too late for my liking, but literally a lot of things just can't go unsaid. Just some of them just have to be inside of you forever. Okay? As you can see, some of those truth bombs were justified and uncalled for. Some of them, not so much. Let me know in the comments what you thought, which ones you think were good ones and deserved, and which ones were just straight up cruel or unnecessary. I will be wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here, and I will see you at some point in the future. Bye!